from. Tell your girl she can kick it if she wants some, but we got no time to waste.
Welcome to 4AZ. I'm your host, Tyler McDowell Blanken. On this edition, we'll review episodes 15 and 16 of season 5 of Abbott Elementary. As always, we'll discuss the latest storylines, fan theories, and more. I am so excited to welcome back Sarah Beth and Mike Steph. Let's go ahead and talk about episode 15, Safety Day. Of course, we'll begin with the plot description. The school district combines fire safety, fade, and the story Samurai all into one event for budgetary reasons. Gregory and later Janine struggle with not being allowed to speak as part of a texting and driving lesson during this episode. Melissa doesn't react well to the news Captain Robinson is being promoted. Barbara tries to understand strange dreams. And Jacob decides to run for a school liaison position against Tina, the former Abbott teacher fired years ago. Mike Steph, Sarah Beth, this episode dropped on March 11th. I know you have thoughts on this. We'll start in Marana, Arizona, Tucson, to perhaps those who are uninitiated. Sarah Beth, what did you think of Safety Day? Did you feel the same Dare nostalgia that I did?
I had so much nostalgia, so I am still bummed to this day. My school quit doing Dare like the year before I went into 5th grade. And so I'm still really upset about it because to this day, I want one of the old school Dare shirts with the lion. That's really why I wanted it. Wanted to be in Dare is I wanted the shirt. Also, did you know Dare is like an MLM basically? Do you know about this?
Do I know what an MLM is?
Well, do you know what an MLM is first? Because it's a pyramid scheme, multi-level marketing. And so Dare was ran by like off-duty police officers. And then they would get like commission by recruiting other police officers to go like run the program. That's why as widespread as it was as widespread as it was, because they were making money off of coming into the schools to lead the Dare program. Also, statistically, like drug usage and student-aged and kids went up as a result of the Dare program. Like it did not work.
Why could you get into too much information?
It just
that's crazy.
I read an article about it, and I actually meant to pull the article like before coming in about why it just basically didn't really like affect, like the kids just didn't think anything of it, and so then it didn't like, and then I think like with access and stuff, but yeah, like it actually statistically did not work.
I have one thing to say, and this I actually am going to keep anonymous. Back in the days when I was growing up and in my teens, whatever, I had one of the people I was growing up with. And do you know that it's so crazy? They were they was hustling, doing their thing, right? And literally while they were doing their thing, they had a button that says "Say no to drugs."
Yes.
While they were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love it.
He was like, listen, I'm drug free. And I'm like, mother effer.
I don't remember the name of the Dare officer that we had, but he was I remember he kind of looked like an older Jay Leno, and he was a funny guy. His shtick was he was comedic and kind of sarcastic, but we used to get so hyped when he would come through. It was a whole era. I had no idea, Sarah Beth, come to find out years later, you can find Dare t-shirts online. And if you get the
Walmart right now has one and Target, but it's not the same. I want the old school with the lion.
And Sarah Beth, if you find an original print, the joint with the lion, that's probably on eBay. That can run you maybe 30 or 40 bones. If I would have just saved some Dare merch,
right?
Who knows where I would be.
So I didn't get to do Dare, but we did in middle school have it was called 3D, so it was Don't Do Drugs. And I remember doing it, and we went to like some conference. Like I remember like 6th, 7th grade going to like some like
it was a Dare conference.
Kind of like it's been more years than I want to say out loud.
I wanted to pull up to that.
Right. So it was like I remember like we sat, it was like a group of us and like our teacher chaperone. I'm pretty sure I signed up for it because I wanted to go to the conference and get out of school for the day. Like, I'm 99% sure, like, none of my friends, like, it wasn't like, it was what it was, but like,
We talked
and I
about field
remember
trips on
we
this
ran.
podcast. Yeah.
Do you remember the old where they would have like the Grim Reaper come in and like pull a kid out of class? Like, did your schools ever do this?
No, that sounds
Oh, I look
terrifying.
back too. Like,
What?
so there's been like a couple of them. So there were like demonstrations where like they'd bring like the car to like the football field. And then like they'd have one of your students, there's a whole thing on it where like the student dies and they hold his funeral like at the school. We didn't do that, but we did something with, it was like whatever the statistic at the time for like how often someone dies of an overdose. So if it was like every 32 minutes or whatever, we had someone like dressed like the Grim Reaper and they would come into a class and it was like all pre-selected kids and pull that kid out of class and then go hang out like in the library and have free time the rest of the day because they were dead. They died of an overdose. And it was like,
I have so many thoughts. So
yeah, like I look
selected
back
the
and, like,
kids that were chosen to overdose, and then their overdose was overdose of fun.
yeah. Also, we were all like 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Like not one of us was participating because we took this seriously. We were all participating because we wanted to go hang out in the library.
I have a question for the class. Did we like this episode of Abbott or not?
I did.
We did like it.
So
Okay.
like genuinely like nostalgic too, just because like again looking back, like just how insane all the adults are during this. Like it took me a good minute to realize the first guy wasn't Tariq. The guy from Story Samurai wasn't Tariq, because that's some shit Tariq would do. Like it was a good minute. And like the whole time I'm like, why does he look weird? And I was like, oh, that's not him. And like I just thought it was so good. And I also loved how Ava killed off Gregory because he was annoying her. So she's like, he can't talk anymore. And then when she's annoyed at Janine, oh, Janine's dead. She died of an overdose.
Crazy.
Like,
Our conversation truly comes full circle.
I felt like it was very like nostalgic, but it was like that weird, like unhinged to me, like that throwback. Like again, that was unhinged. We had someone dressed like the Grim Reaper coming into our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classes and like pulling kids out of class. Who approved that?
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Like our principal said that sounds like a good idea. Go ahead.
I see no redeeming qualities to that plan.
I
mean, it makes for a great podcast story. Shout out to you, Sarah Beth.
Absolutely.
In practice, though, I have questions.
And
I'm
also,
so glad
I realized like what a like deep like in my brain like core memory that was. I haven't thought about that in years.
I'm so glad that you brought up Ava. Upon reflection, I don't know that we've talked about Ava Coleman enough this season. And yeah, the unhinged element of the episode, Ava being in her bag, Sarah Beth being in her bag on this post-birthday edition of the podcast. Mike Steph, safety day. There were performances. There was an assembly. There were jokes. How was this episode for you? Was it good to you?
Okay. I'll start like this. The story arc with Melissa and her boyfriend, the fire chief or what have you, it was interesting because Melissa was upset that he got the promotion, but you would think in the jobs that they do, the time-consuming jobs that they do, you would want one person to actually be able to like kind of sync up. Like for instance, like me and my wife, we work 2 totally different schedules. She works in the school. She works the morning. She gets out the house by 5:30. I don't get in the house until after midnight. So for the days that we actually have one in common, we like to be in sync. So especially such a dangerous job such as fire department or whatever, you would think that Melissa would have been great. You paid your dues, you're getting to a point, they're recognizing you for your greatness. And she was more selfish, as in, the danger that he was in used to turn me on. And now he's going to be behind a desk. I don't want no paper pusher. I think she even said that. She said that to Barbara, like, I don't want no paper pusher. So you mean to tell me you're not going to be going around in that big red steel truck around anymore? There's so many connotations that they would lead into, right? Especially when you talk about Barbara and her dreams, whatever. So I found it. I'm glad that she was adult enough to let him know what her problem was with him getting promotion, and like, because she was gonna just cut it off without letting him know, and that would have been bad. So that part was interesting. Also, the other part, why I saved my laptop from dying. Sorry about that. The other part with Barbara having these dreams due to her new usage of melatonin. Melatonin, to me, I swear, people are gonna probably call me delusional, use other words that they say for just new school terminology. I am firmly against melatonin, because I am a person who for years had problems going to sleep. So I use various things to aid my sleep, such as Advil PM, Excedrin PM, NyQuil, amongst others. And then when I got to melatonin, I was like, oh, this is great. I could just pop two gummies, and I'm going to sleep. But melatonin throws off your whole sleep cycle and everything. Mm-hmm. And when she said, oh, the vivid dreams I've had since I've had melatonin, I'm like, that's interesting. Because, tell you the truth, melatonin kind of cuts off the REM, the rapid eye movement level of sleep. So that's why it's able to go to sleep easily, because you go straight into a deep sleep. But neither here nor there. Like I said, I'm merging some personal stuff in.
No, this is Dr. Steffen's corner. This is new.
Listen, I gotta make up for something. So so that part, her trying to decipher her dreams, I think I wish they would have kind of delved a little bit deeper in that instead of just doing it as like a comedy punchline one-off, because I think that might have been able to have something, an anchor for something that's later on in the season, or maybe next season if they continue or what have you. Jacob, I am so happy that they finally, not only did they give him a storyline, they gave him a storyline that arched between this episode and the next episode that we're talking about. It's something that is not out of character for him, because he's always about advocacy. He's always about trying to, get more for the children, more for the school, more for the community, and what have you. The fact that he found it being he was so appalled that the person was running, pretty much against nobody. It was an ex-teacher that got kicked out of Abbott for kicking a student, which is crazy. But like I said, we'll get into that in the next episode. I'm glad that they finally focused on Jacob. And tell you the truth, I think the last 2 episodes with us, but the last 4 episodes combined, I could see them bringing Jacob back into the mix, as I've been wanting them to do for the whole season. That's why I really believe sometimes that these seasons are being written in progress. Like, they do, all right, let's say we're going to do from October to winter break. We wrote that. We filled that. And then when you go into the from winter break to spring break, because if you think about it, they're not cohesive at all. These blocks of episodes, those are the only thing that's cohesive. We had the mall episodes, those were together. Then we went to break. Now there's no mention of the mall. It's like they've never been to the mall. The only thing that was mentioned about the problems that Abbott, the school, actually had was, everything in the school is flammable. When they were talking about the fire prevention, that was, to me, that was a very, very slick callback to, this building had problems.
That's a great point.
Last thing, and this is more personal note, when it came to I used to like when I was in 3rd and 4th grade, they used to have a program called fire prevention program. So after school, um, I think there was a liaison from the fire department that would come, and we have like maybe like an hour after school, and they would tell us about fire prevention or whatever. And then of course we went to the firehouse and got to get into the machine or what I mean the machine, the truck or what have you. So that did bring memories of mine, like, oh yeah, like y'all were talking about dare. It's like, oh darn, I remember fire prevention class. And a lot of times, a lot of people didn't really care about fire prevention, especially in the 80s. We didn't want to go home yet. So so it's like,
you just wanted the Smokey the Bear sticker.
Yeah,
and you didn't want to go home.
In fact, we didn't even get that. But it was more like a hangout session that, of course, it looks good on our transcript, even though, these things about the school record that follows you through life never happened.
No.
Never happened.
Might be an exaggeration.
And being that y'all are educators, do y'all pull from that? Like, what you do in 3rd grade is gonna follow you, or do you or that's just something that was in my era and maybe in your era?
Not typically. The closest I do, especially right now with state testing coming up, is like the question they keep asking is, what happens if we fail? And I'm not going to say nothing. Or, the things that happen don't happen. Well, they do, but they don't, right? Like, that's where our funding comes into question, and like teacher efficacy, right? Like, I'm not going to say that to a kid. And so the closest I ever do is that their 4th grade teachers will get their scores. I said, so it's going to tell them what you learned in 3rd grade. So if like you knew and you guessed and you fail, not because you didn't know it, but because you didn't try, then when you get to 4th grade, they're going to think you don't know this. And so before they get to teach you 4th grade, they have to teach you 3rd grade. Like, that's the closest I get, but that's more just they're still at a kind of like impressionable of like understanding like why this test is, because they still are at that point of like if it's not for a grade, then like, do I have to try? And so like, I always teach them very early on, like, we just assume everything's for a grade, or like, but that's like the closest. It's not a like, it follows you, but I'm like, it's information for 4th grade, your 4th grade teachers. But it's more like, again, it's information. It's not that it follows you. Though I have pulled kids' report cards from past years to see. So I do use that. It does follow them to an extent, but I use that like looking for patterns.
If you don't do well on that report card, the Grim Reaper is gonna.
The Grim Reaper will come
show up once you hit 6th
every
grade.
37 minutes.
That's I can't get over that.
One last thing. Oh, and this is pertaining to the episode. Do y'all believe that the ongoing arc in this episode, like you said, with Janine and Gregory pretty much being muted, do you believe that it showed how important they were to the overall group? That there were certain things that other faculty, other members wanted to get to, but because they were quote unquote muted, it kind of left these people to their own devices. Do y'all believe it, which really shined a light on how important they are to the overall collective?
I think I can see that, especially like thinking when Gregory is like first muted, and it's when the little girl comes up to him and asks him, Mr. Eddie, what happens when people die? And he's like, because like been there where I'm like, what do you think? Like, but then when Jacob comes in to talk to him, and then all of a sudden he's kind of like bummed. Like, I think it did kind of highlight that of like, which is like lead into like Jacob's whole campaign speech of like, I know I'm insufferable, but I'm gonna suffer for you. But I think like it did kind of really, especially with like touch on that, like how often like when people do come to, especially like Jacob doesn't get heard. And I get it, as another yapper, like we still don't always feel like we're heard.
Unless you could be like me, and I just make sure that I get heard.
I'm gonna make sure they're gonna hear it today.
you gonna get these words.
You two are amazing. That's a great transition for us. Mike Steph, you brought up how Jacob was a through line between these two episodes. I have a feeling one Mr. Jacob Hill may return during our A+ picks conversations during our exit ticket, but we call that a
I just
season of
want to know
business.
that I believe I made the prediction a while ago, maybe at the end of season 4. I'm pretty sure I predicted he would run for either like union representation or political office in some way. I'm just saying, I think I made that prediction.
Research team here at 4AZ, if you can get on that, please.
Once upon a time, and he was at the end of season. What are we on? 5 now.
We're on season 5 now.
I feel like it was either end. I think it was the end of season 4.
Well, let's talk about
for season 5.
One Jacob Hill, episode 16, entitled Campaign. We've touched on some of the important plot points, but for a full background on this episode, here we go, just to jog those memories. Jacob is losing the campaign to Tina, so he asks Ava to be his manager. One of my favorite side quests from this 2-pack. Now, at the debate, Jacob is surprised when the student Tina kicked years ago forgives her, but is able to say his annoying personality will fight for the school's needs and wins by 1 vote. You go, Mr. Hill. Sarah Beth mentioned this detail a moment ago. Shout out Sarah Beth, on fire today. Tina decides to run for a school board role. Got our eyes on her. Gregory accidentally insults Barbara's role as a teacher. Gregory Eddie. Watch it, brother. So they switch classes, and then finally Janine and Melissa help Mr. Johnson get ready for the janitor's ball to impress Miss Carroll. I want to take the lead on this one because you heard it correctly. Miss Carroll, she returned. Our custodian Bay is back, and I love this so much for us. Mr. Johnson's lady, she returned this episode. Of course, Mike Steph, you brought this up several podcasts ago. This new character of Miss Carroll, played by the amazing Candy Alexander of Poetic Justice fame, A Different World. She even played the late Toni Morrison in 2018's Fahrenheit 451. I had to look this up before we recorded because I thought, man, Candy Alexander, I know I've seen her places. And of course, she has this incredible filmography. So happy she is back. Last thing I have in my notes for this episode, then we'll kick it back to Sarah Beth. Jacob doing the damn thing. I love that he got his moment here. He won by 1 vote, even though that kid that was kicked came back and vouched for the kicker. I wasn't happy about that, but Jacob was giving during this 2-pack, and I love that for us. I love that in particular for Mike Steph. It is, in fact, what he's been calling for. Sarah Beth, what did you think of Campaign?
I mean, again, I always say, like, yeah, I'm always like, I loved it. But, so to me, this episode was very like relatable in my day to day. One, I go and watch like all our school, like I'm very much like Jacob in that, like, I go to our school board meetings. I know how to, like, I pull up the school board agenda and like read through it prior to the meeting to see like what are we talking about, what's going on. Like, I'm very like invested because I recognize like that's who makes the decisions for us. I'm also a big believer in advocacy and advocating for yourself and for others. And so like Jacob has always advocated, but to see him actually step into a role that's going to allow him to advocate, and also like realizing what people may see as like, I don't say like a weakness, but like, right, like his whole thing about being like, yeah, I know I'm insufferable, but I'm willing to suffer for you. That's that thing of like, I know, but like it's not even that he's insufferable. It's that he is passionate because he understands that these things matter. Like, I know sometimes people are so sick of me at work when I'm like, no, I need you to care about the impact because this is how it impacts us directly. Like, I need you to speak up because like it can't always just be me, like just those pieces. So I just love seeing him like step in and like taking on this role, like, and seeing something wrong, right? Like, that's not who I want to represent me, and stepping into it. And then like going to Ava for help, and then realizing very quickly that that was not, that it was backfiring. And so then stepping in instead of just like giving up or continuing to hold on, it was like, no, I'm going to step into who I am. And so I really loved seeing him just grow and like really like he's always advocated. But this is the first time where like it's not just like talking about it. Like he really did, he did the thing. I also, as someone who will never teach kindergarten, as soon as Gregory said it, I was like,
You
shut
twitched
up.
it. You twitched it a little bit.
I'm like,
We saw that. Shout out to our
Okay.
YouTube viewers.
No, like I subbed one day in kindergarten. I went to my principal and I was like, and she knows, I'm like, to this day, I said, I love our school. I said, right now, the only thing that would make me leave is if you ever try to put me in kinder. I will quit. Like, that is a whole different, like, power. Like, for Barbara to be doing it as long as she has, it takes you got to have a ton of patience and a very, like, certain skill set because you were taking literal feral animals from the first day. I'm not kidding you. Some of these kids are feral. I love them so much. They are feral. I love them in small doses. I don't want a classroom of 25 of them. I'm not kidding. We got a couple. I love them. They help hand out because their teacher needs a break is what it is. They help bring the dismissal changes around at the end of the day. And so I also know my lot in life. So I know they'll be mine in a couple of years. I can usually count out the kids. I'm like, yeah, I know.
One, and dear Sarah Beth, our beloved Gregory Eddy had the temerity, the unmitigated gall to think that he could just roll into the kindergarten classroom or swap classes with Miss Howard, and it would be seamless. His techniques would work, and he learned real quick.
And like, so first of all, just the audacity to say like, I start from like zero. The audacity.
It was a tough two-pack for our guy.
I'm like, yeah, you're right. You start from zero because she started with negative 100. Like the work she did to get them there. But when he's in there, first of all, trying to teach them double-digit subtraction with the standard algorithm, that's not development. Like, I'm like, that's not, you shouldn't be doing that in second grade, but okay. And then the little girl's like, can we use blocks? And he's like, no, it's not playtime. And I'm like, give her the manipulatives. Like,
yeah. Gregory Eddy.
Manipulatives. Gregory Eddy. Like,
I don't think I've ever done this on our pod. I would be shocked if any of us are picking Gregory Eddy as a contender for the A+ pick for our exit ticket. I'm already canceling out a character that this was not. This is not Gregory Eddy's best showing.
And then like the letter about you, and then he's like, "Why? We haven't learned that." Like,
he came around near the end, but
that small clip is genuinely what it's like teaching kindergarten. My hats are off to like kindergarten teachers and freshman high school teachers because freshman high schoolers are basically kindergartners in bigger bodies. Those are the two that like teaching is underpaid exponentially, but I don't think you can pay kinder teachers and freshman high school teachers enough because you were dealing with the most feral of feral. And my dad's like, my dad's always like, stop telling people that kids are feral. And I'm like, Dad, you come in. My dad comes in every year for Veterans Day. It's like my favorite little tradition. And your running joke is that you don't put your back to the kids because you don't trust them. Don't tell me not to, like, he's joking. But I'm like, you even know they're a little bit feral. And that's by the time I've had them. Like,
put him on the Summer Jam screen.
Like, kinders, man.
That's an interesting comp. I love our ninth graders so much. Sarah Beth, something we admire, Mike Steph, about Sarah Beth is you never have to try to figure out what she feels or how she's thinking. She just gives it to us as it is. Mike Steph, I'm curious for campaign. We already know you're hyped for Jacob Hill. Were you as elated as I was when Miss Carroll returned and she and Mr. Johnson reunited? This made me so happy. What did you think of campaign?
I was very shocked when I saw Miss Carroll for various reasons because I didn't really know where that storyline was going. But at the same time, once Ball and seeing that he had the long, droopy, lovelorn face going on the majority of the episode, I knew okay, something is coming up. So for them to actually make that, a nice intimate one-on-one thing, and what's crazy is they wanted the night to continue, and Janine and Melissa just feel like, all right, well, y'all had your fun and everything. Oh, no. This needs to get done, and that needs to get done, and that needs to get done. Listen, if y'all gonna step into our place, then y'all gonna do the whole thing. You're not gonna pick and choose. We're gonna do the whole thing. So, but no, seriously, with Miss Carroll, we did talk about that. We figured that she was going to come back later on in the season. We just didn't know exactly how.
We sure did,
because they were off location, so to speak, when Johnson and Carroll met each other. So you figured that she was going to be back into it, and for the most part, you figured that was going to be his love interest. So that's good. I do want to make mention of the kindergarten aspect that y'all talked about with Barbara, and it takes a special type of person, skill set and so forth to deal with kindergartners, because kindergartners, they're coming straight from home. Well, for the most part. I mean, nowadays you got 3K and all the other stuff, and unfortunately, due to the way society is, where the caregivers, the parents have to work, and so you have kids in daycare probably way younger than they should be. So they most of the time they do have some semblance of structure, but kindergarten is different than daycare. It's like literally you have the school structure for that particular level. And me being a grand of 4, I think my youngest will be going into kindergarten next year. They're in pre-K now, because my 4-year-olds, because they'll be 5 in the summer. And when just to transition from, let's say, home to daycare was a transition for one of my granddaughters. Just the structure of, no, you can't just get up and do what you want to do here. Or if it's playtime and they say, all right, now we're going to transition over to nap time, you can't just stay over. It's a lot. My youngest grandson, he had a little bit of trouble transitioning because he's a very independent person, and he's very he doesn't have a filter on his mouth, and that's not negative. It's just he's going to tell you how he feels, and for structured schooling, they're like, whoa, this kid is rude. No, he's literally just letting you know how he feels. He's not used to having to put things in terms of, all right, this is my teacher. Most of the time he's talking to a relative. All right, that's my mother, that's my father, and so forth. So the reason I say all that, Barbara, I believe she had been able to be at that level consistently for all those years. And I think her faith has a lot to do with it, being the fact she's based in faith. It's a well-known thing that she's a very, church going lady, and she believes in the Lord. And I believe that is the type of individual that can stay at that you really want to lay the foundation for your child. So I understand why it was very off-putting for her to hear Gregory like, yeah, which girl, when they come to me, I start at 0. Like, you have no idea, not only just the educational part, but the personal, just everything that I literally served as the base for, to pass it over to get to you. You're not finishing school, but this is so that was very interesting to me, and that's actually the part of the episode that I really clung on to. Of course, Jacob being triumphant had me smiling from ear to ear, even though he realized that there was a monster that he inadvertently potentially created, because he was able to get that position, but left her free to pursue bigger and more important positions. And it's almost like, oh, thank you. Now I can go. And he's like, what did I hope that comes we see some type of update toward the end of the season of where that particular thing goes with the school board. I believe she was running for head of the school board, I believe, or that was her plans.
That's
And I also
come back around because most school board elections will happen. Like my district runs them on, it's a 5-person board. And so every 2 years, half of the board is up for election. So it's a 4-year term so that you never have a complete new board. But my guess is if it comes back, it'll come back in the new season. Because with November being election season for the midterms.
Okay, that makes sense. I do want to see it
we may see like an official announcement towards the end of like she's running for sure. And if we do, then we could guess that that's going to be our overarching, at least for half the season.
Yeah. So I mean, those are my overall thoughts about about campaign.
Yeah, and that's Mike. I love that because you touched on particularly with the Gregory and Barbara storyline. That's the tricky part of the work is comparison is an inherent requirement of teaching. I know it said comparison is the thief of joy, and I totally buy into all those Pinterest quotes. But at the same time, you're often working in such close quarters with your colleagues. You want to use your meeting time to talk about how things are going. Oh, I want to borrow this thing you did in class, or oh, you want to try this thing I did. Cool. But you don't want to lead it to the point like Gregory Eddy did, our man's, where you develop perhaps this false bravado or this false confidence of, oh yeah, I could just walk in. So I think that's an essential required part of the work and can lead to so many wins and so much growth. But at the same time, if you're not very intentional about how you use comparison within your practice, it can lead to what Gregory Eddy experienced here. Sarah Beth, you want to close this out before we get to theory corner?
Barbara really like said it when her and Gregory were talking during Jacob's speech. I forget exactly how she worded it. I think she said, it's not about a competition. I think she's like, but like, it's not a competition. It's a collaboration. And that's the reality. Like, I have the respect for our kindergarten teachers because like, I just know I've been there. I know, but I also like know that if it wasn't for them, when they get to me in 3rd grade, like they set the foundation. And then for like, I can't do my job without our kinder for 2nd. We have a fantastic preschool team at my school. Like I know all the work that they are doing lays the foundation. And then I know as I watch them like go on all the way up through 6th grade. And even, I stay very close in contact with my kids throughout the years. And like, I attend their graduations and things. Like it really is. And that's one of my favorite things like about education is like not just like the student growth. And like I'm such a big believer in our school really has this like philosophy that like they are all our kids. It doesn't matter. Like it's never like my homeroom or like I'm on a 2-person team this year. We share kids for like everything. Our kids are constantly swapping between us. And so like they know like they are ours. It's a collaboration between me and the other 3rd grade teacher, between our SPED department, our EL department, our gifted and like we really, and that's one of just, again, my favorite thing about education is when you get to view it from, it's not a competition. It's not about my scores are better because there are so many factors that go into a student's test scores. And 98% of them, I have no control over. I have no control over home. I have no control over ability. Like there are certain things I have no control over, but getting to like go and talk to 2nd grade and like, what did you guys do? Or like, I talk to our 4th grade team all the time. Like, what do you guys need them to know? And so I just really also loved like that emphasis. Like it's a collaboration.
Yeah, me too,
but also,
especially.
And then she also reminded him, but also remember, I'm the foundation.
Period. Yes.
And she's
absolutely.
Not.
And perhaps this is also just fresh on our minds, particularly in the state of Arizona with testing season coming up here in April. Okay, theory corner. I first want to give us props once again. Mike Steph, you brought this up in your earlier comments. We had a feeling that Miss Carroll would return to Abbott, and I am so thrilled still that our theory or our prediction ended up turning true. Very quickly, and then we'd love to hear if you both have theories. Mine is related to a recent topic we discussed on this here podcast, which is Abbott and how it relates or how it's being positioned in the ABC programming universe, with news of The Bachelorette season 22 being canceled, which is a whole other conversation
And I know that's your favorite.
but my two favorite ABC.
Was it because I also heard I saw TikTok, I'm gonna be honest. Something about like Hulu had actually released the seasons, but I didn't go look.
I received a text about that earlier. I don't want to believe that it's true, so
'Cause
I
I've
just chose
heard-
to not research
I've
it.
also heard like ABC never actually made the announcement that so I've heard some conspiracies around it that they're actually like kind of waiting to see because it would cost them a lot of money to not air it. That they're also, it could just be a very good not plot like get people like a hook,
right? Of course.
Like, what do you call that? Like a promotion,
of course.
Which I hope not, because I think the whole situation, there's you heard my rant on it, and
the
I don't
TMZ video release, Taylor Francis Paul, yes.
So
the corporate greed of it all.
Greed of it all, and they taking advantage of.
Precisely. Yeah. I'll say this as a former applicant for a season of The Bachelorette to be a cast member. I never received the call back. It's not something I'm proud of, but as someone who's a former applicant, yes, I'm not being facetious, Sarah Beth. I thought you knew this.
No,
Mike Steph knows this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't put it in my Insta bio or anything, but I'm walking in my truth tonight.
I love
So do I, but they never called me back. I guess I didn't have enough Instagram followers. It's okay. My point is, this is my.
Do you need to get more Instagram followers?
I'm just saying that is what I've heard, but this is my moment for retribution. It is their loss because the franchise is in complete shambles, and this is once again an opportunity for ABC. This is going to be a kind of a wrestling term. Shout out to Mike Steph to strap the proverbial rocket to Abbott. Make sure we get these episodes on time and consistently with season 6, and with the Batch franchise taking another L, and again being in complete shambles on the backs of corporate greed and poor planning. I believe this is an opportunity. My theory is this just cements what we spoke about on the last podcast. Abbott Elementary needs to ascend within the ABC ranks, and I think this is another opportunity for it to just develop even more cachet within the ABC brand, because my goodness, the brand needs it. Who doesn't want to get behind teachers? Who doesn't want to support public education? Well, there are people who don't. But anyway, we won't go there. That is my theory. I think it's coming true. It's getting closer and closer by the week. I'm already excited for season 6, but we're still talking about season 5. Sarah Beth, Mike Steph, any theories you two have before we get to our exit ticket A+ picks?
I never have theories. Like, well, it's not true, not never, but rarely.
Just to piggyback off what you said about being a flagship property of ABC, I believe that's what should happen, but also due to the popularity of certain cast members going forward, especially Miss Teagues herself, Quentin Brunson, probably having more things on her plate. It all depends on how much product they can produce, and also how much they want to invest going forward. Because, like you said, this is season 5 going into season 6, and linear TV, unfortunately, it's not really, it's not really the most popular.
It's different.
But I don't really want. I wonder. How about this? I wonder how they would survive, or how successful they would be if, by chance, they went to a model of releasing on Hulu weekly and not being so tied to the broadcast channel. Like, how you have The Pit on HBO Max, and Yeah, I know you. I know the beauty was more FX, but still, it was like every Wednesday. Or matter of fact, Only Murders in the Building. That was a Hulu property.
What a
And they
what a
do it
what a terrible finale for the beauty, by the
Oh,
way. I've
listen,
not thought. I was so in my feelings when I saw that. I have not thought about it since you and I texted. Sorry, I just had to let that out. I
no,
feel
it's
bad
all right.
now.
But
Terrible.
I
Such a good
wonder.
season, and then they just totally do not land the plane on that
Yeah,
finale. I'm
yeah,
still in my
it made no
feelings.
sense. But I wonder how
Watched
far
it.
or how long
Don't. Not worth
Abbott
it.
Not so
Elementary
not
could
so
go.
appropriate. No.
I'm sorry.
I said I hadn't watched it yet.
Oh, okay.
I don't
Yeah,
know if I'm gonna be able to.
No,
it's
no. It's worth the watch. It's just unfortunate since you know our opinion on how it ends. Like, really? Like, they better come back with season 2. Because if they by chance don't come back with a season 2, that's it's.
it
But
was
yeah,
a finale that's totally hinging on the fact that they will get a season 2.
Mhm.
Just complete cliffhangers, not even effective cliffhangers. Just we're just gonna end the season here, and there's so much
For
left
Ryan
to.
Murphy, did Grotesque get a season 2? Do you know?
I'm not very familiar with Murphy before the beauty.
Because he did it. I know he's done like American Horror Story for years. I think he also did Glee.
I think you might
You
be
know what?
right.
yeah.
What a
I
juxtaposition.
feel like he
Oh,
went
wow.
from Glee to American Horror Story, and he also did Scream Queens or
Yes.
I
whatever
was late to Glee. Once I got hooked to Glee, I really got
that
hooked.
was
But I was a
3
late
or
comer to
4
Glee.
seasons.
Mike,
And then American Horror, and then I think Horror Story's still running. I haven't watched it in forever because it just got kind of.
I've never seen it.
I really liked it when it started. That the like storylines all like or the seasons all connect, but they're all like different. Like you have like the Coven, which is like about witches. You have one about like an insane asylum. So like they all connect some in different ways, but it hit a point where it just got like hard to follow, like too much connecting almost.
It's similar where how White Lotus connects, but it doesn't.
Yes.
I love White Lotus. Yes.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
like
late comer, but
that,
I'm
but
I'm
because
up to
it
date.
has that
Welcome.
supernatural effect that you don't always see, like where it connects, where at least White Lotus is because it like follows the resort type. It's a little more cohesive.
Great show. Mike, to your point, even though network TV isn't what it used to be in the streaming era, Abbott being approved, being greenlit for a season 6, to have a show on one of the major networks that is dedicated to teaching, to public ed. I mean, it's rarefied air, and I hope that ABC really backs Abbott heading into season 6. I believe this is another example with Batch falling off. Granted, 2 very different shows, maybe 2 different audiences, maybe, although I think there's some overlap. There's a real opportunity for Abbott, as you put it, Mike, to be a flagship property. I don't know that I would describe it as a flagship property. I mean, it's on ABC, people know about it, but I hope there's a concerted, intentional effort heading into season 6 to make this one of their premiere shows.
No, I really do. I really do. But like I said, all those other aspects, they have to all come together. And I think, especially on shows that are this, the longevity of the show and the impact that it has in different aspects of just consuming entertainment, that I would rather them end it a year too early than go on a year too late. And I think, I'm not wishing that, but I think we're approaching that point of, all right, we're
Storyline wise,
playing.
yeah, right.
because
We
people
finally
gonna
got
outgrow-
Abbott Funkos, right? We should have been getting those in season 2, but finally we got the Gregory Eddy drop right here on YouTube. It's about time.
Tyler, he's to me, he's on the precipice of taking that arc. Maybe not Michael B. Jordan arc, but that arc of out of here.
Oh, that's crazy. I thought you were talking about me. You're talking about Tyler James Williams.
Yeah. The other Tyler. Sorry.
Cool. Sorry.
Everything is not about you, Tyler.
It's a stellar cast. Everything is not about me, which is why I want to close this conversation with
But everything's about Chris.
Our exits.
Everybody hates Chris.
Well, same difference.
Well, we know that.
Thin line between love and hate.
Great reference. We know that Tyler James Williams will not be mentioned during our exit ticket because Gregory Eddy, I don't think is a real contender for who won this 2-pack, who earned our A+. I'll save mine for last, even though you both may already know where I'm headed with this. We'll start with Sarah Beth.
It's Janine. We can't wait to hear how you're going to go to Janine again.
Watch it. That may not be the case.
The way she was quiet and just stood in the corner was amazing.
Y'all are crazy for that. And I love both of you for that.
We're also not wrong. You know it.
The way the spotlight shined off her forehead.
The way she held the disco ball.
Listen. All right, you two. We're going to stay in the desert. Sarah Beth. I love how much glee this gives you both. I see you two on YouTube right now smiling. Sarah Beth, who earned your A+?
Probably Jacob for overall between the two. There were lots of moments for everyone, but if I'm looking for both episodes, watching Jacob really step into wanting to solve, just being the fact that he keeps up with such a niche position, because it was something liaison, it wasn't even a real, I assumed it was a school board position up until the vote, when the vote was a raise of hands. Because even when he's it'll the speeches are here and then the vote happens afterwards. And I'm that's weird. That's a quick vote. And then when they were raise your hand, and I was oh. But so one, just the fact that again, keeping up to date and being so passionate of understanding, this person is going to represent us at the table. And I don't want this person who's not even in the classroom representing me. And then to go through the actual election and running and asking Ava for help, even though, and I think too, right? He really wanted to stand by his convictions of I'm not running a dirty campaign. I'm not running a smear campaign. And then giving in, because at that point, he realized it was still, for him, it was more important he won because she was so clearly unqualified. But then realizing that plan was backfiring and it was a terrible idea, and stepping into who he is and winning by a vote. And when Janine was don't tell him we weren't here. And then Melissa goes, please tell him we weren't there. But again, just for so many seasons we've watched, and there have been times where he's really advocated, he really advocated for RJ last season, with getting in a club and something for him, and with the golf course and stuff. But a lot of times he is more complaining or semi stepping in, right? I know there was a reference at one point about how he changed his Instagram to the black square, right? So just really seeing him step in and taking his abilities to make change. So Jacob.
Such a compelling case. Mike Steph, have you been persuaded?
I know I would have been persuaded. Shoot, that was going to be my choice from jump. Finally he's been validated. Finally, they've actually given him some type of meat on the bone this season, instead of him just being an also-ran, just being the punchline of a joke, just being reactionary to everybody else's movement. Finally, he was the focal point. In a roundabout way, it is kind of sad to a certain degree, because, it's up to your perspective. But the reason I say it's kind of sad is because, you got Barbara with her years of service, and the new addition to her family that brings her joy, right? You have Melissa and her relationship with the fire department dude, right? You have Gregory and Janine, they're attached at the hip. You have Ava and O'Shawn, who's been missing, but he'll probably pop up after the next break, which go ahead that, right? Jacob has the school.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
That's his attachment. Ever since the early seasons when he had the boyfriend or what have you, and then they broke up, literally there's been nothing to replace that except school issues. RJ, the building, the getting a counselor, all these crusades. That's what he is attached to. So shoot, even Mr. Johnson got some rhythm last episode. Jacob, his rhythm is the school. So for him to get for him to go after something and achieve it, and like you said, do it on his own accolades, on his own accord, and not, all right, well, I sold out to the lowest common denominator to get this. I really feel like that in itself deserves an A+. So yeah, Jacob.
That's fantastic. I have no arguments this time. It is unanimous. Jacob Hill has earned my A+ for all the reasons that you two said. We know how this goes on the pod. I just ride both of your coattails all the way through the end of the episode, and Jacob Hill is the clear winner. I was tempted to zag and go Mr. Johnson for the Miss Carroll of it all, but you two are absolutely right. Jacob Hill, a winner during both episodes, and so happy that he has a meaningful storyline right now. It's Jacob, period. We want to know who is earning your A+. Do you agree with us? Is it Jacob Hill or is it someone else? Let us know in the comments here on YouTube. Or, as always, hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn at 4AZTeach. We thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.